record. Recording in progress. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. This is the Digital Enterprise Africa ecosystem. Tonight is the 2nd of June. My name is Dumisani Sondlo for the opening. I'm only standing in for your program director, who is Ms. Lerato Dube. She will join us at about 7:30 this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we open with a word of prayer? Can we bow our heads and pray? Father, we thank you for this opportunity to get together in this way. We thank you that you love us so much. You love us. And in your love for us, you have made sure that we get together in this way. And Father, there is no better place where we could be. We honor you, we honor this time. And Father, as we get together in this way, we ask you to make this a special time. Make it a time of great fulfillment. Make it a time of great excitement. Make it a time for great love and a flow of the goodness of God among us. And Father, I pray that we would receive your wisdom in all that you do in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen.
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 Okay, great. Let's see. If your mic happens to be open, please find a way to close it. Now, welcome everybody. Like I said, my name is Dumisani. I'm only standing in for Lerato, who will be the program director for tonight. Welcome everybody. We have our guest here also. We're in for an exciting evening, learning about how an entrepreneurial mindset works. By way of introduction, you've already received PJ Swanepoel's bio, and I believe you have read through it. I've spent some considerable amount of time with PJ, and I've listened to his heart. He's a true African. He represents a generation which is truly out to make a difference. His love for this continent and the people of this continent is absolutely amazing. I consider him a friend and a potential mentor to many. PJ's mindset distinguishes him in many ways, and his personal motto is, if you focus on the long-term goal, the short-term challenge quickly becomes less of an obstacle. That's quite amazing. That is quite amazing. Now, without taking from what he will be saying, I've checked the dictionary earlier, and the word entrepreneur refers to a person who sets up a business or businesses, taking on financial risks in the hope of making a profit. Now, it is a great honor to especially welcome PJ as our guest speaker for this evening. He will be talking to us about an entrepreneurial mindset. And a special welcome to all the alumni of the Institute for Satellite and Software Applications. Now, please do this. Please put your questions on the chat box. Type in your questions in there. We will engage with your questions after PJ finishes the main presentation. But when we're doing the question and answer, we will also welcome any questions that you want to ask verbally. Now, you can go ahead, PJ, and load your presentation. Here's one rule of engagement. One simple rule of engagement is that I want to ask each one to please keep your microphone on mute. And if you see that anybody's microphone is not on mute, please help mute it for them. So you'll see that some microphones could be a bit troublesome. So let's see. I think PJ is able to load his presentation that side. So PJ, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dumisani. Can you maybe just confirm that you can see the presentation?
Yes, we can see your presentation and it's beautiful.
It is. It's Africa. Has to be beautiful. Yes, what a great introduction to Masani. I wish I could tell you guys how we met and all the stories we've shared. It's quite interesting, but I'm sure we all will meet one day and we will share all kinds of interesting stories. This continent has got amazing people with amazing stories. And that's the reason why Dumasane easily convinced me to talk to you guys today. What I want to talk to you about is the entrepreneurial mindset, not necessarily, coming from a business guru's mindset. I'm an electrical engineer, which fits in very nicely with the alumni and the background of many of you people. I work in all kinds of industries, but my biggest love is for people. So it's easy for me to talk about things, and it's easy for me to talk about businesses that I've started and that I've sold off and all those kind of things. But what's really on my heart is what I'm going to share with you today is not just what Google says, what is an entrepreneur, or we look at Elon Musk and we say, wow, that guy must be an entrepreneur. It's a bit more. It's something that we can constantly work on, and something that we can constantly strive towards being better. So please relax. I'm not going to ask any questions afterwards, or let you write any exams. I'm sure Dumasani would love to make you write the exam. I understand he's got you guys, quite actively involved with all the things that's going through his mind any time of the day and night. So maybe he's going to give you an exam. I don't know, but let's get going. My concept is something about, it says they're conservative building blocks to rather promote quality over quantity. And that is really what I feel. I've got a very strong belief in ethical business with a core of giving back. We can't sit in a country as rich as it is with people and with resources and finance, but we are so poor as an average. We can't sit back and say, okay, well, I'll make my money. I'm an entrepreneur. I'll reach for the stars and forget about the roses at your feet. We have to remember our people. That's the most important thing. I might not make you wealthy very easily, but what I have to say is going to make you rich in a lot of ways. Okay, so the index or the agenda that we're going to go through is the definition, which is just a very basic definition of Google, which is pretty much, I think, what Dumasane is Google. It sounds about the same. Then some building blocks, which is conservative building blocks. And then I'm going to start changing it up to what I want to say and something that's more towards South Africa and the amazing diversity that we've got. Then there's a final, then there's my vision. It's an African vision, but let's call it my vision because not everybody thinks the way I do. And then final unpacking, and then a small little tongue-in-the-cheek story about the chicken man, or who I call the chicken man. Okay, so what is an entrepreneur? This is a basic definition of somebody, and which I obviously just Googled. It's straightforward, but this says quite a lot. Entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and the desire to establish, administer, and succeed in a startup venture, along with the risks entitled to it, to make profits. So that pretty much says everything for the true sense of an entrepreneur. But we all can't be that guy. We all can't be the Bill Gates and the Jeffrey Bezos of the world. We don't have to be, and that is very important to realize that we don't have to be. We've got a different responsibility for now, I think, and that's my main focus. I'll tell you guys all about it. So again, on the conservative side of what an entrepreneur is, we look at words like opportunity, vision, understanding, capability, which goes hand in hand with qualification, confidence, passion, creativity. All these words are beautiful words, and they're really, really relevant to a person that is the basic entrepreneur and what that definition talks to. Hard work, risk, belief in what you envision. Humility. That's not necessarily always true, but to me, that's very, very important. Confidence, trust in what you've thought of. All those things add up, and I know that's why I put a tick and crosses next to it. Some of us can say, hey, you know what? I've got the vision. I've got the passion. Maybe I don't have the capability. I'm a bit worried. I don't have the capability. It's not the problem. You don't have to worry about the capability, because as we go through this presentation, I'll tell you more about it's not just that. If you're born with that capability, it's possible. If you study it, it's possible. But then you also get mentors, which would completely and even more actively empower you to achieve these kind of things. But I still want to change it a bit up. This is still too strict and too rigid. I want to think, or you guys to think about, is the lady selling fruit down the street, is she also an entrepreneur? And you can answer to yourself now. You're welcome to open up your mic and answer it. My opinion is absolutely. She is an entrepreneur in so many ways. Whether she's going to be extremely wealthy one day, only time will tell. But she's an absolute entrepreneur. She thought of what she wants to do. She had the access, she had the opportunity, she had the vision of making money. And sometimes it's just to make enough money to eat. And sometimes it's enough money, like Elon Musk, sorry that I use him often, but he was born in South Africa, so there's a little bit of a link. And then sometimes it's making billions. But we have to see the difference between those two. It's much more important just to feed your family, and then to start feeding other people's family, and to make it possible for other families to be fed because of your vision. So yes, the lady down the street selling fruit to me is not only a superhero, but definitely an entrepreneur in my book. Okay, so I said stop. Look at this clown. It hardly happens in Europe. These kind of things, it'll only happen in Africa. I'm not sure what the background is of the story, but I want to say stop. Let's change things up to being a bit more relevant to our country and our situation. We have a unique country with a unique history and unique requirements. And with that comes the responsibility, not only a responsibility for me, my responsibility, but also your responsibility. I come from the political white background where there's obvious things that needs to be changed and has changed and has come over some time. But then also there's responsibility from the latest generation and what's been given to them. Every generation has had things taken away and given to them. And I'm telling you now, we've been given much more the past few years been taken away. But we have to stand up for the things that we don't believe should be taken away. Let's first now listen to some of our old school entrepreneurs. I'm just going to quickly go through 3 examples, and I'll tell you why I've chosen guys the likes of Humphrey Causer. Apologies that I'm using the old generation people. Partly it's because I believe there's a lot of things to learn from the older generation, because people quickly say, oh, in the old dark days, and yes, it's very true, but look at what these guys have achieved in that period. And there's a lot of guys in our new modern age in the country who's there, but they only took the cream off the top and not really worked right from the bottom upwards. And that's why I like to use guys like Humphrey Causer. yeah, they used to call him the Godfather Soweto. The older people would know. I don't personally know too much stories of him, but it's in one of my management books that I read. I mean, he went to prison. He was a trumpet player. He had a club. He did all kinds of things. But what is important is he lived what was then his life, and he strived, and he looked at guys like Elijah and CB. He looked at the Oppenheimers and he said, I want to be there. So one of the sayings he had was, before you start up a business, you are alive and cannot afford anything. So don't let business change your lifestyle, because you can still live without business. He still went on years after his mother's death. On her birthday or death anniversary, he used to give back to the people. It is important that he came from where he was. He used what he had. He had standard 8, which is today's grade 10, and he made a lot of money. And he later he touched a lot of people, and he inspired a lot of people. It is important that he raised to the equation. Another one is Humphrey Causer. His saying is, forget luck. You must take control of your own destiny and formulate a desire and realistic future which you can describe in words. So what you've got in your head, describe it to yourself, write it down. Only then can you achieve the goals you set out. Very, very, very strong words. He also passed away earlier than anybody would have expected in a car accident, but the people immediately, one of the first things they said is that they will remember him for his kindness. And that's what I want to say, is that kindness is for sure a virtue, and he had it. He made a lot of money, for sure. He started the Lotto Foundation. He gave back to the community through an ice cream factory that he wanted to give the people, his own people, back something as simple as ice cream, but it touched so many people. Then thirdly, I look at somebody and I read a thing, and I can't remember exactly who else I spoke about, but all these guys that started the retail industry, the guys like Whitey Basson and Christa Visa and Raymond Ackerman and all those guys, not only did they give what the people wanted, which is food and in one space and under one roof, and giving it prices that they can. Yes, there's lots to say about that. They made a lot of money and they're making a lot of money, and that's for sure. But I mean, you know, guys like ShopRite Checkers, I mean, they're employing hundreds of thousands of people. They're giving food to people. And if what it's going to take to run that empire is going to take 10 or 20% above on what he can buy it for, and he can make his money off it. What you can see is being given to all the people is much more than what these guys take out as salaries. They are very, very wealthy, but they have given back to the people in many ways. And it is important, again, as a third person, is to notice that he's rise to the occasion. Whatever that circumstance, what the timing was for him, he rise to the occasion. Okay, so now something that is, I said to Masani, I hope it's fair for me to make these statements and to present this to you guys. It is not too strict or too political, but it's something that I feel strong and this strong about in so many ways, and this has come a long way. And one of the first discussions Musani and myself had was all around this, all around, you know, what is our responsibility? So I think we've got a responsibility. A lot of people might differ. A lot of people don't feel they've got the responsibility, or they think they've got the responsibility, and once things go well, then they forget about their responsibilities. It's our responsibility to look after the people, after our people. We're a very political country. And over the past few years, we've become even more politicized. And that's because of our politicians' narrative. And it works for them, not only politically, but also financially. And you'll see that in many ways of business. I wish we could talk more about that, but let's move on. I think I don't want to talk about those kind of negativities. I want to talk about how I have fixed it in my mind. And I believe it can fix things for you as well. And that is a single thing called mindset. It's a small thing that makes a big difference. I think that the saying is actually, attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference. But to me, mindset is everything. A very inspiring man once told me, it is our responsibility to look after Africa. And that inspiring person, you might know, the likes of Mr. Sondo. He planted that seed in my mind, and it was just something that he said. I don't think he gave it as much thought as I did, but I kept on. He kept me awake with so many things he has previously kept me awake with. But he kept me awake with a saying of, "It's our responsibility to look after Africa." I was thinking, and it started falling into place for me, because that is how I think. It is our responsibility. First, in our houses, then in our community, then in our provinces, then in our country. But then, once we've done that, then we go to the rest of Africa, because Africa is our responsibility. And I want to stop in Africa. I mean, obviously the world is there, but I want to stop there because, you know, you can always think further and further, but let's just have a vision of Africa. That ties in with what Dumisani said earlier about me and what I told him, you know, that one of my beliefs is that long-term goal, if you focus on a long-term goal, it makes it easier for you to kind of ignore the smaller things at your feet. And the analogy that I use is, years ago when I was younger and fitter and all those kind of things, I used to play quite a lot of hockey. I played for my local club, I played for my province, I played for my country. I've got Springbok colors in hockey, and I traveled overseas. And what I learned there, I mean, I was 16 years old until about 25. I played competitive hockey. One thing that I realized there is that, and that's why I put the Swallows and Kaiser Chiefs and Bafana in there, is my analogy on sport is that to prove to you that the long-term vision makes things so much easier for us in this country, is when you look at sport, is that when you have a local derby and you supporting, I don't want to choose teams, but let's say Chiefs, and you're sitting this side of the stadium, the guys in the other stadium, which is maybe Pirates, you scream things at them and you throw things at them, and even sometimes the guys get into fights because they want their team to win. And a few months later, Bafana starts making choosing their team. And what do? They take players out of each and every club, out of some provinces, out of all these guys, Amakosi, all the people, and they put them into one team, which they call Bafana. And then all of a sudden, that's whole stadium, everybody is cheering for Bafana, and there won't be one single fight. There won't be one, let's call it, melon going across, throwing people. Because all of a sudden, the vision has changed. That's the only thing that has changed. So in anything, in business and in life, and especially in this country with all kinds of small things happening, if we have a long vision, like we have with Bafana or with the Springboks, then they play, everybody's at peace, because we all focus at that goal, at that vision. And that's only the thing that changed is vision. My color or my background or your color or your background or your preferred team that you support back home didn't change. But the only thing that changes is our vision. So that's one thing I want to bring forward tonight, is that African vision, is let's fix as much as we can all the way from home, and then we start going into Africa. And if we think that way, then everybody will work together much easier. There's another analogy that I use, the mountain bike theory, and that is, if you drive down a hill and you see there's a big rock that you need to miss, you keep on looking at the rock and you say, I want to miss that, I want to miss that. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to hit the rock because you're focusing on the rock. Don't focus on the rock. Focus down the road to where you want to be. And then when you hit the rock, you probably wouldn't even hit it. And if you do, it hits you and goes under you and goes past you. And then you realize it wasn't even the issue. Okay, so what is our vision? It's Africa. And with that, starting a business or doing your own thing is so much easier. It is simple. Just keep this in the back of your mind. Okay, so the final unpacking of this very short session, I can talk for days, and I wish I could. The final unpacking is we take this vision that we have, and that vision might be slightly different for you. Maybe you say, you know what, my vision is going to be outside of the continent. But to me, the continent is relevant. If you just want to have your vision, your local community, then that's fine with me as well. So you've got that long term. Now you start looking at the short term things. And this page, I mean, we can sit for weeks and talk about really what is the unpacking of a business and an entrepreneur, what it takes to build a company. But let's go through some of these. Get the confidence through mentorship and role models. A mentor is absolutely crucial. And without that, I don't think any entrepreneur would have been where they are today if they didn't have some other mentor, whether it's tangible or non-tangible, whether it's somebody that they saw on TV, somebody driving past in a nice Mercedes, they're thinking, I want to be like that. That could be the role model. But you could also have the mentor that actually says to you, hey, come here, work with me. And we all have those kind of people. Sometimes we don't realize it. But get confidence through somebody like that. And if you're already where you want to be, then be that person to somebody, the lady down the street selling your fruit, or whoever who wants to start their own business. Be that mentor for somebody. That mentor sometimes is just a small little token of confidence. I'll talk about that confidence and that mentorship in my final Chicken Man story that I want to share with you. Know your limits in a business, not in the sense that you want to keep yourself back, hold yourself back, but realize that don't make your goal to be the wealthiest man in the world, you know, Elon Musk. It's maybe not realistic. But what is important is if you start focusing on smaller things in that long-term goal, which is not all the way to the richest person in the world. But if you look at Africa, or you say that is my long-term goal, then you're gonna make it much easier for yourself. But make things realistic for the start. Use the different economical empowerment structures as stepping stones, but don't make that be your only worth. Give back to the people. Yeah, it's a bit contentious. I can't say too much more about that, but give back where you can use something as strong and as fundamental as economical empowerment. Use it, and then use the basis of the success of that you've used, and give back to the people that don't maybe have the access to that advantages. Build the company that you want to build with successful people. It's been proven. Google is a company built with successful people. Never stop empowering the people around you. And it's not just your employees, it's the people around you. In your own company, yes, keep on empowering your people inside your company, but also around you. even, you know, the guy looking after your car every day. Empowering, which means empowerment means education, training, and giving the person the tools. That to me is empowerment. And yeah, make your employees part of your planning. Get their buy-in. So many times, especially in the corporate world, Son and myself, we spoke about, you know, in the corporate world, how do we get out of that and start working for yourself? The corporate world is not a bad thing. And not everybody wants to work for themselves. And not everybody, I think, should work for themselves. The corporate world is very, very strong and very powerful, and it's very needed for mass employment and spreading of wealth. But what these corporates, which I work for every day, sometimes miss is that because everybody's got a number, they don't always look at getting the buy-in of people. Sometimes you just want to be noticed and say, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And then you just give an opinion, and then all of a sudden your buy-in will be much easier. Install the mindset that all employees should work like it's their own company. I think it's Whitey Basson was one of the visionaries there, where he always, when he met any of his employees, he used to say, do your work as if this is your company. Doesn't mean go home 3 o'clock and it's my company, I don't have to work late or anything like that. It's just think about the customer as being your customer. Think about how neat your working environment is because it's your customer. You want to make the money. You need to make money to take home. That's the kind of mindset you want to put into the minds of your employees. Understand each and every aspect of your business. As an entrepreneur, you have to understand everything. And that's why in the old days, you always used to say, yeah, the guy came from the sweeper and now he's the MD. That is so important. And in the modern corporate world, I see that not happening. I see a guy coming in with a PhD, coming in not even from that background, coming in as the CEO of the company. It's very doable, and it's possible because you get people that are very extremely dynamic and they can handle that. But if that person came all the way from the bottom upwards, he can make so much more educated decisions. Okay, so this is a saying that I just thought I might be stealing it somewhere. But if you're the boss, never sit back. And I use this analogy again, you know, even if the chef is working and the waiters are serving in the restaurant, it doesn't mean the boss can sit back with his feet on the desk. It doesn't mean that at all. The boss still needs to be there, hold the hands of the people, empower them, stand next to them, lead from the front, be there right at the door, all those kind of things, be involved. The guys always say lead from the front. That is absolutely true in the true sense of entrepreneur. Another saying, the winner seldom reflects on why he won. I put that in there because we all need plans to keep on improving ourselves and to get where we want to be. But you know what? When you get to the top, you don't always, the winner doesn't always ask, you know, oh, what can I do better? Once he's there, and he's already won. The guy that's second, third, or fourth, or fifth, he keeps on trying to improve himself. So be careful to have a vision that sits you there, and once you've reached it, you don't have to do anything. You become that very dangerous word called complacent. Complacency is a very dangerous thing to have. Keep on pushing. Rather be second, because then you can improve. Rather make mistakes, because then you know what to do. Okay, empower, and that it starts slowly but surely coming back to what I said about my African vision, and what I really want to talk more about, if there was more time, is empower local vendors with mentorship and modern tools. And it was also something that Musana and myself spoke about. The lady down the street selling her fruit, could there be an app that she's got no idea that she could possibly use as a point of sale or as ordering or anything like that? It's our responsibility with the education, with the access to technology, to try and empower these people. it's going to come back. Trust me, the feeding those kind of people, it's going to come back, whether it's just giving more back to your community, but it's going to come back. It's our responsibility, according to me, that we need to mentor these people and take that entrepreneur, which I completely believe she is, all the way up to maybe she wants to drive a Mercedes, and that is very possible, and we can get those people there. And right at the end, always remember the long-term goal or the vision, like I mentioned earlier. Focus on Africa, focus on your community as a long-term vision. And these kind of small things get easier. I wish, yes, on this thing where we give back to the community and empowering people with tools and those kind of things, I wish I could talk the whole night about that. I think maybe we should have a session like that. I think Musai also mentioned something like that, you know, where we need to have workshops where we think of giving back and let's have something like that. I would love to be part of that. Okay, so as a tongue-in-cheek right at the end, but also touching on what my core thinking is that all this the chicken man actually, but it's a story that I've found on a podcast quite a while ago, where this young gentleman living in Limpopo, just the start of COVID, started thinking his grandfather's got a chicken farm, and he started thinking about this chicken feet and chicken neck, and he quite likes it, and he's always had a love for it, and he had all kinds of recipes and things like that. And his granddad always said, you know, be the change and be the man that can be the entrepreneur. He's an old farmer and he's conservative, but he said, you younger generation can make something. And this young boy, I mean, young is probably about 30 or so, took his granddad's words and he started playing with recipes and he started playing with machines that can do canning. And eventually he started canning chicken feet and chicken necks in a nice little gravy. And he started selling it. And he started selling it so successfully that he's built a factory on his grandfather's farm. And he started selling it almost wholesale. Today, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, he's making a lot of money. He's got 60 workers per shift. He's got 3 shifts, so it's 180 people working every day for him. And that's not on the distribution and obviously on the rest of the things. He's got contracts with ShopRite and Checkers to sell these chicken feet and necks in cans. And it's doing extremely well. I've even put that in there this week. When was that? I saw Tito Mboweni mentioning this guy and his product that is sold. And that is such a great story, because I'll tell you the shocking part now is that this little farmer boy, he's white, and it's not something that he grew up on, but he decided with the mentorship of his dad to take on a market that he doesn't know much of, but he knew enough, and he had the mentorship of his granddad that said, you try this, and he tried it, and he broke the mold, and he's extremely successful. So the vision for me in the story is that why did it take somebody like him 100 or 200 years since people have canning has been around, and chicken feet has been around? Why has somebody only done it now? And that's all to do with timing and taking the risk and being that man of the moment. And amazingly, and please don't think I'm making it political, but being a white boy doing this, the only difference is that he's typically been empowered slightly more, but he had the mentor of his dad, or his granddad, saying, you know what, you try this. And that is our responsibility. For every single younger person who wants to start that, we need to be that person and say, you know what, this is what you can do, and this is what you can achieve. Okay, and I think from my side, my timing is pretty good. I think I was planning to do it on 45 minutes. This is the end of what I wanted to say. I wish, again, I could say a bit more, but the key thing that I would want to, and the seed that I want to plant with you is that vision that I mentioned earlier. And the vision is look at a long-term plan, and whether it be Africa or not, look at that long-term plan, and then focus on how we're going to get there, and focus on how the different steps of getting there. Thanks very much. That is me. I'm all ears like that dog. If there's any questions, please feel free.
Thank you. Thank you, PJ. I wish I could do a hand clap right here on on Zoom. It's absolutely amazing. All right, feel free to remove the presentation. Then this is quite amazing. Thank you, PJ. So this is the start of the question and answer session, and like I said, I'm expecting Lerato to be here, but anyway, I'm able to handle this for as long as she's not yet here. PJ, just to start the question and answer session, I also want to check on the chat box. I notice the question that I see there says, any reason why you left out Sundowns from the soccer teams? So we'll hear from you about that. But PJ, when you were talking about, when you were giving your list there, you said something about use economic empowerment structures as a stepping stone, but give back. Now, I'm going to ask this question to kick off the question and answer session and to open up to everybody to say, all right, as soon as you answer your question, then let's let the rest of us be free to ask our questions. I looked at your body language when you talked about that, and it seemed to me like you held back a bit. And I want to assure you that there are no holy cows here. We expect you to say precisely what's in your mind, and what do you mean by that? What examples have you seen where you feel, look, we've got to use economic empowerment as a stepping stone? What do you see economic empowerment currently as? What is wrong with it? And how is it being used incorrectly? And how can we actually use it better? Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Masani. Yes, I mean, obviously, I sometimes feel it's not my place to question it, but then also I'm the generation that was part of quite a lot. That's part of, not part of that. Well, I was involved in the change. So okay. So let's get to your question. Where I see it failing is that there is a lot of merit in what we call equality, or equality in opportunity. That is something that makes a lot of sense. So to empower people to have the opportunity, but to try and control the outcome. So equality in outcome is not in the best interest of everybody. So what I'm saying about what I mean about that is that in sport, if you didn't have the chance, then we want to give you the chance now again to be able to compete. But when it gets to the best in the country, I'm not going to give you a position or a spot in this team, in the best in the country team, because of your background. That unfortunately needs to be sorted out on the grassroots level, where I give you equal opportunity. Because it is not good for anybody, and like you asked about the example, I see it. I had great employee a while ago, Mkenyezi, who's left our company now, where he was put into a position and very quickly he came to me and he said, you know what, I'm in this position now, but I'm actually not ready for it. I've been put into this position and I've got people underneath me who I need to inspire, and I can't. I don't have the skills to be able to inspire the people below me. And the reason why I was put into that higher position was because, unfortunately, and he realized that, was because of it was a triple BE position that was made open for him. And he was man enough to say, you know what, it doesn't make sense. I have to go out of this system and come back when I'm ready. I'll use it when I'm ready, for sure. But I first want to get ready for it. And that is not, that decision to put him into that position wasn't good for him, and it wasn't good for the people below him, because it was demotivating for the people below him. It was demotivating for him. He went back studying, becoming a better man, and that was motivating, but it wasn't the system that motivated him. So that's my very long-winded answer to your question.
Thank you very much. Okay, Tim, he's all yours. There he is. So I see there's a question on the chat line. Let's perhaps start with that. What is your view on ethical entrepreneurship in South Africa, and what has been your experience with it? Do you find it as a demotivation? Yeah. Let's ask Imelda to open her mic and just perhaps explain a little bit about what is the context of her question. Thanks.
Thank you, Dumisani. I think ethical entrepreneurship in South Africa has been a thorn. There's been a lot of things that are not done right. So it's very difficult to be in the entrepreneurship space and doing things right and succeeding at that. So that is the basis of my question.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Imelda. It is very difficult, and that's why I say, you know, anything that's not fair or seen to be fair breaks down the moral of the people, and it's not to the benefit of the people. You have to have a very healthy camaraderie. You have to have a healthy environment that people can work in. That makes people thrive and want to be better. If anybody, it's absolutely just natural. When you see somebody, you know, achieving more than what you have, but they've worked for it, then you strive to be like that person, or at least equal or even better, depending on your competitiveness. But if you see somebody, you know, who's there and he shouldn't be there because of all kinds of irregularities, it's demotivating. And is it morally demotivating? It's also financially deconstructive, because that person is not empowering other people, so that it's a felt fire experiment where it gets better and bigger and more. But he's also taking away from the guy that could, and it's really difficult. It is and that's why I say, you know, I like to take everything right from the bottom upwards and try and build it, so that we try and build all the way from the bottom upwards, that our children see that this is the way to do it. This is the hard work. I mean, that's how all our parents brought us up. They taught us that hard work gets you there. But unfortunately, there's so many younger people that don't realize that anymore. But I'll speak to our parents and our grandparents. They worked hard, and it's a slap in their face not to work as hard as they did. So again, it's a culture that we must breed all the way from schools with our kids, with the people down the road. We need to breed the culture of doing the right thing, because then more and more people win. I hope that explains a bit more. It's very difficult to assist you a bit more on that. Thanks.
Excellent. I see Imelda is feeling good about your answer. Now let's hear from the rest of the team. What questions do we have, or what would we like to raise with what PJ has explained here tonight? It looks like you got us really thinking here tonight, PJ.
That's good. You made me lose sleep, so I hope you lose some sleep as well.
Oh, good. All right. Any questions from the rest of us? Okay, I see that in your there's a graphic that you put right at the beginning. You talked about capability and qualification. On that, you put a big X. You basically said, look, that sense of being capable, you talked about capability limitations is not a problem. How can that not be a problem? Because sometimes we are taught that, or our understanding is that without qualifications, you are quite limited. Without also that sense of being capable, you are limited. You also say in that graphic that hard work, you put a big X next to it. What is the reason for that? Thanks.
Okay, so to be honest, the ticks and the crosses were, just something that I used to show that all of us can actually go through that list and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But what is very relevant is a lot of times we think, oh, you know what, I want to try this, but I don't have the qualification. Maybe I must go study. Maybe I must first work for that person. That shouldn't hold you back. Unless it's a corporate position where you need a certain qualification. I'm telling you now that a lot of people that's very successful entrepreneurs never had any qualification in that field. So don't let that hold you back. Qualification. Because qualification only means a certain portion, but what I've put next to it is capability and natural ability. So you can actually achieve almost anything without qualification, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't not be qualified for the position, but it shouldn't hold you back. If you're thinking of you want to start a certain business in a certain field, and that is your passion, then a lot of times that passion trumps the qualification. And you can actually start that business, run that business successfully. And you can use somebody else's qualification. As a true entrepreneur, you can use somebody else's qualification to do legally the right thing and get the qualification or the paperwork behind you. But the idea in running it doesn't mean an entrepreneur has to be a qualified doctor with a PhD to do something in the medical industry. There's lots of ways and means around, and that's why I put crosses and ticks next to quite a lot of interesting points, because they're all up for debate. I mean, somebody as great as the founder of Virgin Active and Virgin Airlines. I mean, some people would say he was a con artist. I mean, the things that he did without any qualification for it, he just said, I've got the vision and I'm going to do it. Maybe the best example is Steve Jobs. I mean, Steve Jobs had a lot of qualification behind it, but what made him great? Not sitting there doing designs on on paper of his designs technically, of his qualification and his engineering and his programming background. No, what made him great was his ideas, which you can't get a qualification for. You can't go to university and say, I want to be as creative as Steve Jobs. You can't do that. There's no such thing. So what's more important? Or at least see the difference between what is important and what's going to make you there. And then, yes, you mentioned hard work. Yes, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people say as an excuse, you know what, I'm already working too late. I can't start another project. It's going to be hard work. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to achieve your goals and you want to be your own boss, it's going to be hard work. And don't let that saying of I don't have time be the thing that holds you back. And that's it.
All right, thank you, PJ. All right, colleagues, here's all yours. Time for your questions. While we're waiting for questions, PJ, we hear a lot of that in our ecosystem here. The word that says, I don't have the time. The word that says, you know, I'm too busy. I cannot be able because I'm too busy. I don't know what is the antidote for that, and maybe what causes that. What causes people to feel that, look, they don't have the time, and how can it be remedied? Thanks.
Yeah, I think we trading. I mean, you have to distinguish between not having time to work for a boss. That's one thing, and then not having the time to work for your own goals and dreams. For the former, you don't always have the time because you don't have the drive to work for a boss or to make somebody else rich. Let's call it that. But if it's truly your dream and one of your goals for yourself, then you'll make the time, and that wouldn't be an issue. But again, touching on what we spoke about earlier, where I said you need to be the mentor, you need to get a mentor or somebody that can lead you on this. A lot of times, this excuse of, let's call it excuse of not having time, is that you don't truly believe that you can achieve it. You rather think of excuses because you don't truly believe you're there, and you haven't truly convinced yourself that you want it. Let me tell you, if you've convinced yourself, and somebody's standing behind you and they say, "You go, I've got your back, and you know what you're doing, and you're going to achieve this," then I'm telling you now, no person is going to say, "I don't have the time for it." You will have the time for it if you truly have the drive and the backing.
Yeah, without seeming to monopolize the discussion, PJ, precisely on that, how would you connect that perhaps with your own story? Precisely what you've just described. How did that unfold in your own story? Thanks.
Yeah, it's quite relevant to my story. I worked for 2 or 3 companies in the past, and I've created my 2 or 3 of my own companies previously, and it was all at a stage. I mean, I had the wife saying, "Oh, why don't you start your own thing? Why don't you start your own thing?" And I always kept back, and I said, "No, wait. And it was all about timing for me in my head, that I need to get the timing right to start my own business, because I'm busy with this, I'm busy with that, and I need to get the timing right. But timing is also, again, it ties in with, I wasn't at that stage confident enough. And whether it took a bit more financial strength, or whether it took more psychological strength or commitment, or maybe a little bit of research that I still wanted to get, I wasn't right for quite a while before I started any of my businesses. And then all of a sudden, when the time is right, when you've got the confidence, when you've got the financial means, or whatever it's going to take to start that business, when it's right, you know it's right. And then there's no more excuses. Then all of a sudden it just goes and it's easy. But but you find yourself saying, hold on. Sometimes you shouldn't. Sometimes you really shouldn't. I mean, I'm being an engineer, much more conservative thinking. And I wait for the calculation to work out financially, because I'm very calculated in that sense. But also, you know, you sometimes wait for the stars to align, and then only you start. So again, you know, it took somebody, a mentor, again, one of my dad's friends, to say, hey, you know what, I've got my own business, and this is how I did it. I needed some confidence, and I employed the right person. Well, I took somebody and I said, hey, you know what, I always wanted to start this, but if you and I start this, then I'll have the confidence. And then that's what I did. Got somebody that's got that 50%, sometimes 60%, 20, 35%, whatever it's going to take, but that other person that's got that, the rest of what you think you need. Maybe that person's got that. You grab that person's hand, and then together you become the owner of a business. Doesn't mean that you're an entrepreneur, you have to be on your own, for sure not. It could be 10 people, it could be 100 people, it could be a whole alumni of people.
Wow, you've just referred to you know, having a conversation with a mentor. Take us through perhaps a process of identifying a mentor, and maybe the thinking towards, would I like this person to be my mentor, and what are the limitations of that? I mean, does the person now mentor your whole life? What exactly do they mentor? And also, what would go then into that initial conversation with that person when you now ask the person to mentor you in a particular area? What goes into that conversation with the person?
Yeah, it changes quite often. I mean, I've had many mentors in my life, enabling me to achieve many different things. Sometimes small little personal goals. Sometimes starting a company. Sometimes, yeah, starting a new hobby. You know, there's lots of people that either just inspire. Some people that empower. There's all kinds of different roles that a mentor can play. And sometimes you don't even realize you've got somebody that's your mentor. I mean, I had a person that I worked for, one of our old companies. I mean, after a while, I realized, wow, this guy has taught me everything. And it wasn't something that I actively sat there and said, you know, would you like to be my mentor? I just sponged up everything that he said, and I got involved and just shadowed this person, and eventually learned what I had to learn. So it's sometimes somebody that's not that obvious. To actually approach somebody is sometimes difficult, because we all have different personalities. We sometimes, and again, it all kind of comes down to that confidence. To me, the biggest part of why you would want a mentor is to give you that final confidence. If you're the person there's people that do it alone, and they are multifaceted people, and they do it alone, and they survive. But where I really see somebody making a difference is where you keep on, like I said earlier, you keep on making excuses, and this person comes around and says, no, I've got the experience. I know what you need. All you need is a little push, and that person will give you that push that you need. Sometimes it's literally just one sentence, and you go. Sometimes they hold your hand. like I say, if you want them to partner with you, you speak to them and say, well, you know, I need you part of this. But it's I think, you know, if you're not that person that's already there, already running your own businesses, then that right-hand person or that mentor is absolutely key. And they come in different forms and formats.
Colin?
Let's see. All right, I was able to unmute myself. Thank you. Thank you, PJ, for your presentation. It's quite insightful. And I looked at the intro that Dumisani shared, and I got excited when I saw process control, instrumentation, and analytic. And I was hoping that I won't feel bad that maybe I met you a day later or a week later, because I had a struggle a few weeks back trying to get a reputable company to help set up the controls in my factory. But then I quickly browsed through your website. I don't see you mentioning anything around the SCADAs and the Siemens specifically, because that's my point of interest. I have an OEM that is in China, and I'm trying to find companies locally that I can work with in future if I need maintenance. I don't really have to fly someone from China every time. It will be costly. And I was hoping that if maybe you're not doing that, maybe you can suggest a few names that one can look at and maybe engage and see if I can have synergies with them. Thank you.
Yeah, Colin, absolutely. You're more than welcome to contact me directly. You can get information from Dumisani. Yes, I mean, when it gets to process automation, that's my game for the past 15 years. The company that I work for, Yokogawa, we are a OEM ourselves, which is a Japanese company. We cannot offer services on a third party like Siemens or Allen Bradley, whatever. We can't offer any services on that PLC side of things. But Yokogawa ourselves, we do have our own PLC, Yokogawa PLC, with our own SCADA package. It's called Stardom is the PLC, and Fast Tools is the SCADA package, which is our own software and everything. But that's not going to help you if you've got already OEM products built by somebody with Siemens. There are many Siemens system integrators in Cape Town or across the country, and I can give you 10 or 20 people to contact if need be. So please make contact with me or with Dumisani and get my details. I'm more than willing to help you with that.
I'll do that. Thank you, PJ.
I see that Busiswa Sbal has got a question that she's put on the chat line from the building blocks that PJ mentioned. He mentioned vision and passion, and I understand that. But sometimes you can be passionate and do all the works with no money coming in, and you have bills to pay. Hence, we rather keep our warm jobs, even if we are not passionate, because they at least give us some sort of a financial security. How do you balance passion and vision and lack of funds coming in? But before PJ answers, can we hear from Busiswa what is the context? Just a little bit, because I would like to hear what that's about. Thanks.
Hi, Dumisani. It's exactly what I'm asking. There's no other context. You know, in entrepreneurship, guys, it can be lonely and cold there. You do the work there and there's no invoice paid, months and months, and you have bills to pay. So it's a scary world, to be honest. It's nice if you do it and there's sort of some
income that is coming from someone else to take care of the basic. Otherwise, if it's just it and you're not lucky with the invoices being paid, gosh, you're going to drive your trolley. I don't know. It's cold there. It can be cold. It can be warm and nice as well. But hey, when it's cold, it's cold.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's not easy, and remember, you know, we don't all have to be entrepreneurs. It is not, you know, the be all and end all. In one of my slides and one of my notes, I didn't even mention it. You know, something that frustrates me is when I speak to people and they say, "Oh, I want to be entrepreneur." I don't get that statement. You know, that statement doesn't make sense to me. You know, if you don't want to be one, you want to work for yourself or be your own boss. Yes, being an entrepreneur, like you say, is got a lot of responsibility. Starting off with financial responsibility, and then you start employing people, then it becomes a huge social responsibility, because you need to look after those people and you need to pay them. So it's not for everybody. Point number one. Point number two is that, yes, like I said, my wife was also on my case at a stage and said, "Oh, you know, resign and start your own thing." And the time wasn't right, because I had to pay the bills. And getting the salary, like you mentioned, from a boss is worth gold. And never do anything. Don't moonlight and put anything in jeopardy that you would lose your main source of income. Do that and do it as best as you possibly can. But if you want to do something on your own, then start and work hard at it. And then you'll know as you start building it up to a point, then you'll know, and you'll put some money away and save, and then you'll know at a stage, and again, with the possibly assistance of a mentor, to say, okay, you know what, I'm ready now. I can pay the bills for the next 3 or 6 months with the salary that I've put away, and now I'm ready for this. And if you're still not ready, then keep on building the reserves. Keep on doing the groundwork. Keep on putting money away. It's not worth, depending on your financial situation, but it's not worth putting yourself up to too much risk just because you want to work for yourself. That solid income is point number one. Rather than look at something else that takes less of a risk financially. I always say that you can either start a business out of a garage. Like I always say, a garage business. You start small and you just build it up to eventually being as big as you want it to be. And the other one is you go to the bank, you get some get some money from the bank, obviously with a sound business proposal. You get money from the bank and you start with a boom. Now both sides think it works, and in both sides of things it can work. But starting out of your own garage, you don't have the overheads. Starting with a bang or with a boom out of the bank, it could put you back. You could make a mistake in judgment because and that's another portion of entrepreneurship that people don't talk about, is that we spoke about passion. We spoke about, what you do for the love of things. That can sometimes get you in trouble, because doing something out of the love for it doesn't always mean that you're going to make money. People like to say, "Oh, you know what? If you love what you're doing, you don't need to get paid." Okay, yes, but who's gonna pay the bills? It's not that simple. A musician is the perfect example. I mean, they all do it for the love of things, but it's probably 1% of them that really make good money. The rest of them just do it for the love of it. It's not always sound advice just to do something out of the love of it, because it doesn't always pay the bills. I know it's a bit contradictory to what I say, about doing everything, correctly, but that is unfortunately the truth.
Thank you, Vijay.
All right, we have a question from Fortunate about business partnerships. Fortunate, take it from here, please.
Hi, everyone. No, I just want to understand, because I've seen people who have, they were doing well and they decided to go to partner with somebody, and the partnership, doesn't go well. So I just want to know, what are the things that one can look for if you decide to choose a business partner?
Thanks, Fortunate. Yes, a very, very relevant question. That's one of the hardest things that I've learned is that question: is when is it right and when is it not? And I can only tell you what I've learned out of my experience. And the one is that, again, one of my dad's friends, who was a mentor for me, said to me, don't unnecessarily give away parts of your business, but don't be a fool by preventing somebody with the capability to make money for you. So that's a very loaded answer, but it's very relevant. So when you choose a partner, rule number one is don't. Because as soon as somebody's physically part of, let's call it an PTY, somebody's part of the shareholding, and let's say it's 50%, then they can make 50% of the decisions and they take 50% of the money. But they're also entitled to 50% of what happens, which makes decision-making very difficult. And especially if it's 50-50, then the one can say yes and the other one can say no. So the only way to get around that is, again, try and do things on your own, and rather make people, rather incentivize people with some money than making them a shareholder, or a director, because then they don't have a say, but they still share in the success of the company. But when it gets to the point where that person can make you money, and you do have the same kind of mindset, and you do trust the person, and all those things has to be ticked off. You have to trust the person, and you have to have the same mindset, and you have to have the same vision as well. Then the next step is a rock solid shareholders or owner or co-owner business agreement. So that puts everything black on white. It says, okay, you know what? If this one passes away, this is what we're going to happen. If we are in deadlock, then this person takes the deciding bid. All those kind of things. Then you have to go and sit with the lawyer and put that shareholders agreement together so that at least it's on paper. People change and people renege on their agreements very quickly. So that agreement needs to be very solid. But if you can, again, rather try and do it on your own, and the people that assist you, they rather just become a normal employee instead of a shareholder. I hope that will assist you.
Thank you. So here's the next question from Ntombize Vangeli Njili. Says, the scary part for me is to see myself compromising my beliefs, similar to Imelda's question on ethics in the business world. Yeah, I don't know if Zevangeli would like to comment or explain anything about compromising beliefs what would that do to you if you find yourself compromising beliefs? How solid are your beliefs and what are your beliefs? Thanks. Before PJ comes in.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, PJ, for the nice presentation. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes,
Yes.
can you hear you?
Oh, okay, okay. Yes. Yeah, that is so scary for me when you, especially in the tendering world in South Africa, where you have to see, like, you have to pay someone to get something, if I may put it directly. So it's like seeing yourself trading the beliefs. So that is the very scary thing for me into this business world. But actually, that's what I meant. What can be your advice therefore? And standing in what I believe and also making it successful.
All right. Thanks. That's clear.
Yes, thank you for the question. I must apologize. I will not attempt to pronounce your name. Yeah, I hate it. I
Forgive them,
absolutely
PJ.
hate it. Yeah, I hate it. I mean, I'm busy now. I mean, we're with a certain parastatal as well, and it is so blatant, and it's so sad because we all know that it's not. It's, you know, there's a certain level where you can say, okay, you know what, you know, let's let it slide. But then you get to the point where you see things falling apart because of that, and it's really difficult. The bottom line is we should not accept anything like that. It's because for the past 10 years, more, almost 20 years, it's slowly but surely crept into all kinds of places, especially in procurement. And it's really sad because it's so deeply entrenched that it almost becomes the norm. The only way to get around it is to stand against it and flag the people. And in my personal life, I mean, I write people off very quickly if something like that happens. If somebody doesn't have the same kind of belief, or somebody does, you know, something towards you that's against your grain or against your belief or your upbringing. It's very easy to write somebody off in a personal capacity. Probably not if it's very close family, but, you know, otherwise we stand strong against those kind of things, and it's strong people that survive. But when it gets to business, it's a bit more difficult because you kind of, in a way, forced to look past it because you're looking at the financial gain. Now, if you really look at that kind of business mindset, I mean, that borders on prostituting your company, and prostituting yourself, where you sacrifice your beliefs for the benefit, for a financial benefit. It's really bad, and it's really sad that it happens, because it breaks off a certain portion of you, which it shouldn't be happening. I don't have an answer. I can't say no outright, and that might be the detriment to your company. But I can also not condone it. It's really difficult, and I sit with the same thing. And in my personal capacity, I've been fortunate enough to be able to, in business, say no, absolutely, without any doubt, just say no, whether it's to the detriment of the company or not. And that's the only way to do it. But it does get clouded when you realize that, you know what, you actually need that order. It's not maybe giving the guy money, but it's, you know, whatever the case may be, there's all kinds of tricks that these people think of to get. And the problem is once anything like that starts, once any transaction is done, then both parties, I saw it in a company that I was involved with, as soon as anything like that happens once, then both parties are locked into that forever. Forever, somebody can turn around and say, you did that. Or he can say, you did that. Or that person gets dependent on that. Or you get dependent on that, because maybe it's a 50-50 win. So it's absolutely making a deal with the devil. And if you all can say no, that's the way to go. And we need to build that culture of saying this is not okay. A lot of these, I mean, like I say, I work with the parastatals, and unfortunately, although they don't believe it, they one of the most corrupt people around, but they've got the most strict procurement policies. And yeah, we just throw the book at them and keep on throwing their own regulation back to them, because they have strict rules. And we just have to be strong about that and never stop doing the right thing.
All right. Well, thank you, PJ. Let's hear Colin. After that, we'll close it. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Dimsa. Something just crossed my mind. I don't know, PJ, if you have had this type of experience where big corporates try to buy you out or technically take you out of business. We've had the experience where you start a supply chain, a supermarket store, and then Pick n Pay say, can we buy shares into a business? And the target really being that of taking you out of business, maybe because of the competition and stuff like that. But I'm sure for some people it might be something to consider. But then what is it that one can look out for, those kind of partnerships? Because we have seen many business being sold and bought and then they closed up because you're really entering into someone's market. I don't know if you have had such an experience, if maybe you can give some tips of what to look out for when those kind of approaches come your way.
Yes, absolutely. I have been involved with something like that, Colin. Again, you know, we need to stand strong, and if it's your baby that you want to sell off, or somebody wants to buy out, then you have to realize right from the start, again with agreement, when these guys do any offer to purchase, and look at what the rules are. One can set out the rules when somebody buys a certain portion or company out. You can make it a part of the contract to sell, and say what is allowed to happen or what is not allowed to happen. Again, we must stand strong, and if it's against your beliefs, a family business that's been built up and you don't want to lose it, then you must just say we're not going to sell. And again, it's very difficult, because when it gets to finances, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to sell. So then there's two ways to get out of it. The one is to say, you know what, you take it, I'm out of here, I don't want anything to do with it, I'm selling off, and what you do with it is fine by me. And you pull out completely. That's the one way of doing it. Another way is to say, no, I will keep 51% of the company, and I will always have the deciding share. That's the other way of doing it. It's really difficult. I want to add to that, and that is a discussion I had with one of my friends who's a very successful entrepreneur as well. Where years ago he came to me and he said, oh, you know what, I'm like 5 people strong and I'm doing really well. And he's got this opportunity to grow like 3-fold. And, you know, how should he do it? And should he go to the bank and get money? And And we set up the whole concept of how to get through it and to grow. And but I said to them then, but not strongly enough, I said to them, just remember, Jan, that it might not be in your best interest to grow. And he looked at me like confused, and I thought, oh, you know what, I'm just being silly, and I moved on. And a year or two later, he came to me and he said, you know what, I know what you said that day. I said, oh, well, you know, it was something that popped up in my mind. He said, you know what, I took all those jobs and I got in business, got in business with large people, and I grew my business from 5 people to 20 people. I've got all these overheads and I'm making much more money. And he said, but you know what, it wasn't worth it. I sold a portion of my business, I sold a portion of my soul. Both because he got just too busy, started losing control of his business, and somebody else all of a sudden had a deciding factor in his business. And he said to me, it wasn't worth it. If he could take it back, he would go back. And I know that's difficult because it's hindsight. Hindsight is always 20/20 vision. But he said, you know what, if I could take it back to 5 people again, and I had control of everything I did, I'll do it. So just remember that, is that you don't always just have to grow to be successful. Start another business. If you've reached the level of what that business can give you as an income, but you still have full control, and in order to make it bigger, you have to give away a portion of the business. And maybe keep it the way it is. Start another company and have control of 2 companies properly, and get income from another business or something that offers service to that business, than giving away a portion. Because again, it's an ethical decision. Giving away you're selling a portion of your soul to the devil.
Wow. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, PJ. Well, we normally close our sessions at 12:30. You've given us 3 more minutes, PJ, and we are really, really grateful for that. Well, in closing, I mean, on 2 occasions towards the end of your talk, you spoke about selling your soul to the devil. Yeah, that's quite heavy, and
Sorry, that's very dramatic.
Yeah, it takes us directly to what we normally say defines us as this ecosystem. We look at ourselves and we say we are born out of the prayers of our parents, and so each of us in this ecosystem is going to have to search not only their own souls, but the souls of their own families, and say, what are the highest hopes of my family? What are the highest hopes of my parents, whether they are alive or no longer alive? Then I have to scrape and find out what are the prayers that have established each of us. And secondly, we say we have a commitment, a deep commitment to Africa, and we want that to not just be words. And when we look at ourselves, we're saying we're building this new digital ecosystem, and it's all about a new sort of African. And this new sort of this new African is not new, because this is who we always have been. When we were growing up, we grew up with this innocence. And we cannot afford to say that this is what Africa has become now. We have to look deep into what have been the hopes of our parents. What is it that they truly reject? What is it that they drummed into us from the beginning? Because that is what is going to take us forward. But thank you so very much. I hear there's a question about whether you're continually giving lectures on entrepreneurship. I'll ask you to drop us a message, and I mean a WhatsApp message on that. So the question is, which platforms are you on? One person here says she would like to follow you. So if you are not on social media, you have your first follower right here. PJ, we thank you so very much for all that you have done. And we're extending to you a hand of friendship as this ecosystem to say some of the people here will be starting businesses, and their businesses have a lot to do with automation and software. And we would like to hear if it's something that you are open to. If somebody in this ecosystem wants to start a business which is close to the areas that you operate in, would you be willing to perhaps consider, putting together a new co with somebody who is in this ecosystem, and then discuss and then taking things forward in that way? You have already stated what it takes to actually put together a partnership, but the people here, in order to succeed, we believe that we need to have partnerships with people with your level of credibility and with your level of skill and networks. You don't have to answer that question right now, but it's just to plant a seed in your head. Everybody who's here, thank you so very much. Everybody who has dropped off, thank you, thank you, thank you. PJ, we give really thanks to you, to your family, and to whoever has supported you in being here. We're sure it's not the last time that we meet with you. Thank you very much. God bless you. All right, everybody, the meeting is over. Thanks.
Cheers.